My name's Elliot Ross. I'm a Public Humanities Fellow here at the Heyman Centre for 2017-2018, and I just completed my PhD in English Literature, also here at Columbia. So the project that I did as a Public Humanities Fellow was to design a podcast project, trying to use podcasting as a pedagogical tool. And the title of the project is The World in Africa. And for that project, I worked with high school here in New York, up in the Bronx, preparing high school students there in the rhetoric AP class to interview scholars of Africa in the diaspora who work in New York.
Welcome to the first episode of The World in Africa, the place where we celebrate and engage in African cultures such as arts, music, and literatures, as well as diversity. I'm your host, Mariam Jallo, and join my partners, Binta Gumane, Fatimata Sumbundu, Denasia Reeves, and Luis Gonzalez. Our topic of the day is negritude, and we are joined with our guest speaker, Suleiman Bashir Njai.
Something that I was very mindful of the whole time was just how challenging this project was going to be for the students themselves. Asking them to deal with difficult, complex subjects, to learn about it and quickly to become kind of curious and inquisitive about that topic, and think as well about how to introduce it in a constructive way for a kind of imagined broader audience. And secondly, how intimidating it is, again, for anybody to walk into the office of like a world expert on any given subject and sort of propose yourself as an interlocutor and someone whose questions have value.
This is Fatimata, and my question to you is, how would you describe negritude, and if you had to, how would you sum it up in one word?
The topics had to kind of map onto the existing program of learning that the students had been doing. In both cases, actually, the students in this class had been studying Black Lives Matter and the media coverage around it and racialized police brutality. They'd also had a module on the Harlem Renaissance. So questions of identity, of race, of empire.
The word, it's a pleasure first. Let me say this, to have you here visiting Columbia. It's really, I'm very, very happy to have you here. And to answer your question, if I had one word to use, I would say a movement. But of course, you would then ask what kind of movement that is. And I would say that negritude is a literary, philosophical, and political movement. The location is very important. Negritude was really born in Paris, where different intellectuals, black intellectuals coming from all over the world actually used to meet, and they created this movement.
In terms of Professor Bashir Jan and Professor Marie Cruz Soto, they were fantastic with the students and quickly were able to kind of figure out the level that the students were coming at in terms of the topic that they were bringing to discuss with them. And they were very encouraging, thoughtful in their responses, and I think in a way that I hadn't quite anticipated, modeled a certain kind of scholarly generosity for the students, and certainly made them feel like their questions, their concerns, their thoughts were valid and valued, and were worth engaging with and responding to. Both the Heyman Center and Humanities New York were brilliant to work with, very supportive, give you all the resources that you could ever need to pursue a project like this. At Humanities New York, you do a number of training days, and those were extremely helpful in terms, for me particularly, in terms of reconceiving of the project. So the project changed shape a great deal, and that's one thing to consider when you're making an application, is to put forward the best ideas that you have and the best vision you have for the project as you conceive of it right there. But understand that this isn't a contract. This is think of it more as a kind of beginning or first draft of a project that you're going to develop as you go on. Because the fellowship is not meant only to produce some concrete outcome, but is also more crucially a training in public humanities work that can hopefully push those projects forward, and also lead to other kinds of work as you continue with your career?